Hello everyone, it is Joe here from Omnipoke, the channel that brings you guys everything Pokemon. If you're looking for PTCGO codes, including the stuff from Fusion Strike, make sure you go ahead and check out the Potown store. You can get a 5% discount on your order using that code Omnipoke. For today's video, we are going to be looking at a budget way to play Rapid Strike, and that is going to be the single prize Malamar as the main attacking presence here. Kind of a throwback to the likes of Baby Blacephalon, but instead of throwing away Fire Energy, we're going to be throwing away Rapid Strike tag cards. That's kind of what we're looking for here. Everything that has that Rapid Strike tag in the top right corner is valid to be shuffled back into the deck with the Rapid Strike tentacles, and we do 40 for each of those that we get back into the deck here. We sort of select them from our hand and then we throw them all back in and try and reload them over and over again. So it is going to require us to draw quite a large hand size the entire time. And this deck did take a bit of a hit when Oricorio left the format. But I think the meta placement is pretty interesting for Malamar now. There's a lot less spread damage decks in this format than there was previously, where there was a ton of Dragapult, a ton of Jolteon, and a ton of Melanie Urshifu. I think Dragapult is getting scared off by the sheer number of dark decks in the metagame as well as Fan of Waves. I think Jolteon and Urshifu are reasonable plays, but probably not those top 2 or 3 decks right now. I think there are better plays out there, which does leave the door open for Malamar, which does seem to have a pretty decent time against the main Single Strike deck as well as the Fusion Strike Mew deck, because these both just hit aggressively into the active position, which is really good when you're a one-prize deck, because you don't have to be worried about a lot of different things, and you can just try and race efficiently. The even better news against Mew is that they very rarely even play Hand Disruption. If they're playing Marnie, it's a 1 or 2 count, really. So, and some just don't even choose to play it whatsoever. So you don't really get stopped in your game plan very often, and you can just crack on with what you want to do, which I think is just really, really good here. So there is maybe a window of opportunity for this and a few other one-prize decks in the game. I wouldn't get completely carried away because there is still an element of spread. But I do think there's a reason to be playing the deck in this format to reach those one-hit KOs, especially against the 2 bigger decks in the format right now. So let's have a look at the engine. We're going to be using Octillery here, which is just an all-star when you are playing a Rapid Strike style archetype. With that Rapid Strike search, it can guarantee us energy attachments, it can get us into evolutions, it can get us into our basics, our backup Pokemon, which is always nice, and we are even playing Korrina for draw power and Tower for reducing our retreat cost on the otherwise pretty difficult to retreat Malamar, although you can always attack with it for 1 attachment. And Octillery, with that 2 retreat cost, you can have a decent stadium bounce in general. It means you can lead out with the Remoraids much more comfortably and not feel worried, that sort of thing. So the Tower is always a nice bounce to have in general, and it has the upside of just having that Rapid Strike tag on there for you, which is fantastic. So all of these cards you can search out for Octillery, either because you need them that turn, or because they buff your damage the entire time with the Rapid Strike tentacles. The reason why we have such a thick line of Octillery is, firstly, you want it in play, like early, get that Remoraids established, get that turn to Octillery, but the secondary reason is whenever you draw into the additional copies, they can then become damage for the Malamar, so you're just increasing the number of Rapid Strike cards you have access to here. So we are playing Inkay and Mali as these maximum counts, pretty self-explanatory there. But we are also playing a Cinccino engine, and we're playing a 4-3 line of that make-do Cinccino, allowing us to discard 1 and draw 2 over and over again, essentially, with the number of Cinccino we'll try and get into play. Typically, our board state will look something like 1 Malamar active, 1 Inkay on the bench, 1 Octillery, sometimes a backup Remoraid if you're paranoid that you're going to get gusted, and then just as many Minccino as possible. So we're talking 2 to 3 Minccino into Cinccino as quickly as possible. So yeah, thick line there with a ton of ball search to find these cards. Should be very helpful here to cycle through some trainer cards which don't have the Rapid Strike tag, to increase our hand size to then deal the maximum amount of damage we can with the Malamar. So that's really it here. The other things to note, we're playing some rods and carriers. Carriers are really nice in this deck for getting back, again, Pokemon with the Rapid Strike tag, as well as the Cinccino line in general, so it makes our make-dos that little bit easier. And can help accumulate in the late game as being another way to burst 80 damage just by getting double Inkay back, as they naturally get KO'd throughout the game. And it also releases the pressure on Rod, and it means that you can relatively comfortably research one away, knowing that one rod can get back the Mallies and the double carriers can get back the Inkays, so you don't lose your chain of attackers, that sort of thing. Scoop Up Net is one of the only ways we can retreat Cinccino outside of paying retreat with a basic Psychic Energy. So Net can be helpful for moving our Cinccino, but also can provide 80 damage again in similar veins where you pick up things like Octillery just for burst potential. So that's really it here. It's an aggressive one prize deck. We're trying to cross our fingers and hope that there's less spread in the game right now, and that means that the opportunity is there for us to try and cash in and uptrade on our opponents. So we'll see how it goes and have some fun on the ladder today. We're actually up against Zapdos TCG, another very big YouTuber, so we're in for a decent game, I'm sure. Our hand is not great. Relying on Great Ball doesn't feel very good, and we don't have a draw supporter. And we're actually in one of our hardest matchups, which is Jolteon. So like I said, Jolteon is declining in play, but not non-existent. Our opponent has a relatively decent start. The Fog Crystal's a really nice pickup. We'll do it after the Great Balls to increase our odds of getting multiple Inkay, because our opponent could easily just snipe down our initial one if we only get one into play. So let's do these things. Let's just Fog for an Inkay. Have a look at some stuff, I guess. But this is going to be a really hard matchup. Like, realistically, if they just get set up, we're going to get rolled here. And that is just the reality for one prize decks when in a world without bench protection, unfortunately. So we'll see how solid their turn 2 is. They didn't get an attachment turn 1, but they have access to Drizzile and they can start popping off here. They are just going to Marnie, so they need a few bits here. Obviously, they need to get themselves the VMAX in the first place, but also they're going to look to try and get Zigzagoon so they can take a multiple prize turn. We actually get a very workable 2 cards. They are able to find the VMAX. Do they get Drizzile for Level Ball? No, they just have Level Ball in general. They may still want to go Drizzile just to evolve up and then get the Zigzagoon after. But no, they're going direct for Zigzagoon. In a way, that's better for us because they don't have the Drizzile in play, which could be Inteleon for like the remainder of the game. But this is still like a very, very strong turn. And he's going after the engine, which makes a ton of sense. He actually does, incidentally, have Evo Incense to grab Drizz. I imagine he just goes and grabs another Incense off of this for next turn. So his Marnie was pretty insane. Got him everything. And like I said, this deck is going to feel terrible right about now because we're up against a bad matchup. We've gone second, and they've done everything they needed to, realistically. Just grabbing a research for next turn. Okay, that's flexible, I guess. And we are going to be looking very average next turn. It's basically like we've almost already just lost the game because we're a hand-centric deck, right? And we can't really do much around this. We can't ever develop an engine, so we're already in like scoop mode, right? I mean, evolving Malamar makes some sense, but I think we're just toast, right? He can just always target the Mincinos. If they're coming down one at a time, we're not going to win that game. So that's the bad thing about Malamar. And we mentioned earlier that the metagame is maybe getting a little bit more forgiving, but you do still fold to the spread decks. And that's what's been keeping Malamar from being a top tier deck in the current format. Well, in the pre-Fusion Strike format. So we'll see if the format is going to be kinder to us. Well, the PTCGO ladder is going to be kinder to us to actually show the deck off in a decent way. Because our start was solid there. We had the double Minccino lead, the double Inkay. So all things considered, we were fairly robust. But yeah, we were just railed by a pretty rough matchup. We want to be seeing the decks that only hit the face. And this is a Cram-O-Matic build with Scoop Up Net. So I have no idea what this is. Deck-wise, anyway. Raihan, there's a lot going on here. Don't know quite what to make of it. Oh boy. What have we stumbled into this time? Another spread deck, of course. The good news is Urshifu is at least weak to Psychic. That is the good news. Same as last time, I'm going to try and develop multiple targets, so I'm not going to Fog Crystal first. I'm going to go for the Great Balls first. Actually need to grab the Octillery here. We'll go double ink. We're going to hope an assortment of these cards stick, mostly Remoraid. So they can still... Okay, they're just going to concede. Right, their start was pretty bad. Their Chromatic Tails lost them the game, apparently. Don't know really why a Chromatic is in Urshifu in the first place, but so far we've had some very weak games to show. Let's see if we can get one where someone isn't conceding within the first 10 seconds. Myself included. It's classic. This is exactly what happened with the Yveltal video. I was saying, oh, look how good of a time it is to be playing one prizes. Spread is declining. And then I faced 3 spread decks in the video. So far, the same is happening again. So, let's see how this hand's treating us. So we're going first here. When you go first, I think Remoraid's a better lead than the Minccinos. If I was going second, I'd lead one of these. But because I'm going first, I have the option to evolve up into Octillery and grab my own Stadium to retreat myself. So I think that's feeling better. And all things considered, our turn is looking pretty crazy, actually. As it looks like we're up against Zacian Zam, which is another pretty good matchup, which has won some events recently, so that's kind of good news for us. Let's have a quick look at some stuff. We have prized a lot of energy. We only have access to 4. Do I have both rods? Yeah, I do, so that's okay. I have all 3 Cinccino, so I can bench everything here. And then just attach Research next turn. Is there a reason for me to not attach this turn? It's very rare that Zacian Zam will play Fan. Maybe they play Hammers, though. That would make me very sad. The upside of attaching is that I could pay Retreat and don't need to Octillery for Stadium next turn. I think I'll attach. It feels bad, especially when we have so few energy available. But we're likely to take some off prizes, right? So a really, really strong opening for us. And they're going to have a pretty typical turn 1 hand where they're just going to rev up the Zacian. We're going to Incense for Octillery here for sure. Octillery is the most versatile of the bunch. And it's the easiest way for me to get out of the active. We'll save the search for after the research. Okay, we don't do great here. I'm going to Fog for the ink. We actually get... You know what? It's not too bad, actually. I can... Let's Great Ball next. So I can grab this. Let's grab our first... I was looking mostly for Cinccino. That's why I Great Balled before level. Let's go ahead and bin the research, because I'm holding on to Bruno now, and he's just better for next turn. So we've achieved the KO, which is nice. I guess I grab Spiral and commit it and just keep going down this line. It's so bad against Hammer, though. I just take energy and hold it, I guess. Alright, so let's Tentacles. We'll just go like this and hold the Remoraid in case he randomly gusts Remoraid. Yeah, I think that's the best play. Gus Octillery, I should say. That was one of the reasons why I definitely wanted to shuffle the energy back in, because I prized 2 energies. And yeah, he actually does go the Octillery. I feel like that's the highest priority kill, so that's why the Remoraid's the good keep. But he can definitely lose here. Very easily, actually. If the Bruno goes well, and we have a lot of access to Make Do at the same time. Remoraid is 1 less Rapid Strike Pokemon like a draw to Donk, but I don't care. We're in such a good position. I don't have to take the win this turn. So we are at 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. Yeah. We can definitely get rid of an Inkay because I'm holding Carrier. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. Yeah, well, that's KO. Just make the math easy for me and grab an extra one while I'm at it. Well, this is one of our easier matchups for sure. 2 prizes are pretty nice to see. The things like Suicune are also pretty decent for us, right? Because they just have easier damage thresholds, and we're still getting that advantage. One thing I'll note about Suicune in particular is that they can build a lot of quick shooting in Teleon, and they can even right-hand to their shady dealings in Teleon, and that also does 20 bench ping. So if they get too many Sobbles developed, it's actually still a yikes, and you have to commit to putting down 3 Inkay. So you have to be careful in exactly that matchup. But in general, you're happy to see 2 prizes. That's how oftentimes Single Strike will try and play against you as well. Sometimes they go early Umbreon VMAX to try and gust the likes of your Cinccino and Octillery at the same time, but just a few insights there. Let's get one more game in, because the first 2 were not real games. They were pretty sharpish, right? Well, even that third game was pretty quick. It was winning a couple of turns. So we get to go first, and we'll see what we're up against. Not ideal going first hand, actually. No Remoraid, no Inkay in sight, no Ball Search for them. We have 12 turn 1 outs to Inkay, plus loads of Great Balls, which are even more outs, but missing them completely. Looks like we're in a mirror match. And our start is very poor for a mirror. But at least we have double Cinccino for next turn to try and develop a big hand. I think I'll be going Incense for Cinccino first, then Make Do, try and make use of the Spiral before researching. It's always risky to draw into cards before researching, though. I guess we have a ton of top decks as well that changed my decision. As our opponent's hand is very good. They get the double Inkay developed. They do throw away a Rod. That's always something you want to keep an eye on. Potential windows of opportunity for you. But their start is very, very good. They can continue to develop. Looks like they're getting another Minccino here. Yep. Okay, Fog Crystal makes our decision a lot easier, so we just throw away the Carrier and the Bruno, which aren't the worst things to get rid of, especially when I play double Carrier. Here's one prized, but not the worst in general. We have 3 Mallies. Okay. So that fateful top deck couldn't be here last turn, but here we are. This is a pretty straightforward back and forth prize-wise as well, because we have such low thresholds of hit points. We can't really do much in a trade. The only thing I would say is that sometimes you get away with it just from the openings, but in this instance our opponent's opening is cracked. Really, really strong. I think we're not playing this net. Alright, let's see what the Great Ball has for us. So it looks like we're going to be going behind. And it's going to be down to us to play catch up from then on. We have Dark Weakness rather than Psychic, so at least you force 3 each time, but 3 is not hard. So as long as our opponent launches a KOing attack this turn, I'm feeling pretty bad about our odds. So Malamar is ever the glass cannon. You're very much putting yourself in a matchup roulette where you're just expecting to see the very best decks. And it doesn't always come together. I'm a little surprised to see an Incense go when he has Remoraid and Cinccino, which could both evolve up, but hey-ho. He's in such a good spot, I don't think it really matters. I'm going to search out Persimmon. Persimmon's a card we're not playing, but it has been in some recent successful builds. Obviously, we don't play any Gusting. So what Persimmon allows you to do is some chip damage onto things, either before or after you've done a Tentacles that doesn't quite reach a KO. Our opponent is going to Tentacles now. They benched an Inkay, so they always have the 3 here. Don't think they ever miss. Yeah. So our win percentage is going to come in the form of Rod being prized / buried at the wrong time. That's where it's going to come from, more or less. Okay. Let's evolve our guy. We have the 120. Not much else we need to do, really. Let's race. And by race, I mean try and make the resources awkward for him. Because we're always losing a race if he just chains attacks, right? The difficulty comes if his Rod isn't found or if he's found wanting energy at any point. We can't disrupt his engine in any way. We're basically identical in what we're trying to achieve. And it's going to be hard to block that from either side. But we're just crossing our fingers about that one Rod, basically. / awkward prizes being here, there, and everywhere. So he can grab the Korrina with his Octillery now. Now I can start chucking away some stuff, grow that hand size, why not? Pretty much knowing that current builds don't play any hand disruption. You can't really afford to. Marnie doesn't grow your hand size enough, and that's always what your focus should be. So far so good for them. They can just easily take a KO. Like I said, it's only really going to come down to the later game where maybe Rod makes life difficult for him. Because we're purely knocking out Malamars each time. So we're like a Malamar ahead, even though we're a prize behind. Which is a weird way to think about it, but we are. Let's re-establish our hand size. Let's get rid of some cards we don't need. Sure, this is fine. Don't see why not. And we'll just follow suit with the prize. All we really can do here, keep him honest. I'd realistically have scooped straight away if there wasn't an Ordinary Rod in the discard pile. But the fact is that there is one, so we'll try our best. Gonna see another focus from them, draw some cards. Start making do, the stuff they don't need. I imagine they won't be playing their second rod until the next prize is taken, because they want the double energy. Alright, they're going to take the prizes, and it's basically crunch time, like, next turn. If he, like, at any point in the game from this moment, if he plays Ordinary Rod, we just concede. But until we see it, we gotta toe the line. So I actually have no Inkay right now. Okay. So I definitely need to go Ordinary Rodding myself now. No, I'm doing that next turn. What am I talking about? Because I've prized my carrier, haven't I? So yeah, we are just gonna swing. Rescue Carrier would be a good prize for us. But again, it's mostly down to what they have. So they have a 3/3 line of their Mallies in the discard pile right now. They need to have access to their fourth, and the fourth Inkay is already in play. So they need to Rod and get an Inkay back this turn. Let's see if they can. That should be the only challenge for them. Okay, fourth Malamar is in deck. Fog Crystal is not the basic. It's also not the energy, so he's in trouble now. He does have the carrier, so he has the backup Inkay. He's already Rapid Strike searched. Does he have enough energy to see himself through this game? We have 3. We've seen 2 more from Octillery. So maybe last energy is last prize. Or he randomly can't draw energy. Okay, so there's the rod. So now if he attaches for turn, we've just lost. He goes double Mally, double energy. And we have no hand disruption, so as long as it's an energy drop, it's game. But you saw there was a bit of a wobble there where he played the Fog Crystal for no target before actually doing the actions he should have been doing. So there was a small wobble there. Oh, he might be making do for the last energy. Well, not the last energy. Making do after the rod for extra outs. So he may not actually have energy in hand. Oh, he does have energy in hand. He got rid of Fog Crystal. So we've lost. Alrighty, it is what it is. Mirror, you just hit each other back and forth, right? We couldn't really help that too much. We went first, but our opening just didn't have a Inkay, right? So, yeah, that's Mally. Like I said, dodge some spreaders, and outside of that, you should be pretty good. Let me know what you think about the deck in the format right now. Where would you place it? Do you think it's the best one prize deck? I know there has been some other one prize decks doing fairly well recently. I know there's some hype around what's it called? Obstagoon. There's also been Bolton Dinteleon that's done well recently. So some interesting stuff here and there that has been popping up, and it does just show that the format is pushing ever so slightly away from spread everywhere. Now it's just spread sometimes that makes me feel sad when I'm on a video. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. I'll see you in another video tomorrow. Cheers.